one of the things we've been talking about a lot, which is augmented reality graphics. And are they good? Are they evil? I don't know. Discuss. No, Susan, I always think about like augmented reality in baseball just because of the StatCast, the StatCast product and how much that they sort of leaned into using augmented reality to explain the game and to lay meaningful stats. Is that where you guys are thinking AR is important?
Yeah, what Ryan Zander and the baseball technology group have done with StatCast and PitchCast, and now there's the MLB Next app where you can see everything virtualized, which is really, it's a killer app if you check it out. So I think it's just become a standard part of the game, right? We would, just like when the bug box, which Fox introduced, became kind of the norm for every single broadcast that anybody does now on baseball, that you expect to see those metrics, and they've really become part of the game. I mean, I think the fear with any kind of virtual or augmented graphics is that it detracts, right? Like, you don't want it to detract, you want it to be part of the storytelling, and you don't want your story to be about the graphics, you want it to be about the game, and that's always the fine line that you have to walk.
Jason, what do you think? Obviously you've dabbled quite a bit in AR graphics, just kind of for, most of them aren't really, the tracking graphics like we're talking about for what StatCast is, but almost replacing full screen graphics and that kind of thing. Obviously we've spent untold amounts of money on this crap. I remember following Jason around the Super Bowl, and there's literally a guy with like a backpack and somebody else following him with he's got a keyboard and it's like a wireless keyboard. But I have a picture of that
RF,
too.
yeah. AR.
Yeah, I know Jason lost some hair over that. See?
Wow.
You had 317 for the first hair joke of the panel.
Hey, I lasted a while. So, I mean, what do you think? Over the top, unreal graphics during the game.
So AR, well, first of all, I don't have to, thankfully, do what Mike Francis and Evelyn Jackson do, which is find seats in the compound for all the AR artists. Look, I think that ironically with AR, and I truly believe this, the greatest implementation of AR in the early onset was probably, and Tina might agree, is FDL. First down line is AR. Yeah, and that was actually the best, and still is, use case of AR. Because it's not
besides the glowing puck, of course.
Of course, and the slinky dog. Nickelodeon is a great use case of AR because the show's backbone is built on AR. So it actually enhances the story. It's not taken away from action. It's not just doing it for the sake of doing it. It's actually in the fiber of the show. It's what the show's built on. Without AR, it's just a regular coverage game, and you're not going to have all the elements you need to bring in that younger audience. And I think that what we need to pivot to, and I think we're close, and I think maybe we'll make some strides at the Super Bowl. I think this is where it's all going, with some of the AR vendors and camera manufacturers helping us by making AR easier. I actually think we're on the cusp of it no longer being a science project. I'm probably wrong.
How's that? Why?
Say it's still a science project.
Well, I'm hoping that it's getting, I think we're starting to see tracking solutions becoming a little bit more versatile.
They are.
I think you see things like the flying cameras, sky cams and fly cams and moviecoms and all this stuff start to be able to kind of generate their own tracking. I know Sony's been doing a lot of work in that space. Everyone's seeing that we have to get there, right? And I think that once it becomes ubiquitous and you can do it more easily, then I think the fun part starts to evolve, which is what's the next FDL, right? How do you incorporate it into the show, not just for the sake of something giant hanging from the middle of the sky that you can fly past, but how do you do something game action-wise that tells a story of the sport you're covering that enhances the X's and O's or, the game strategy?
Chris, what do you think?
And furthermore,
Wrap.
No, look, I think, Jason, you've said it all, a good bit of it. So, it's really about the story at the end of the day. It's what are you going to be able to do that tells the story. I think we all, sort of in the early science experiment days, this is post first down line, but in the early days, it was about, what cool can you do? What does it look like? What's just going to maybe be a wow? Didn't really enhance the story. But I think now that we do have our arms around it a little bit more, I think the thinking around AR is changing, which is really about how to change the story. I think Major League Baseball is a great example of it with what they're doing, because those are additive elements that help the announcers explain to the viewers what they're seeing. Again, it's about educating the viewers as much as it is informing the viewers as much as it is entertaining the viewers. And so we've leaned into it, but now also there's other pieces of that AR which include revenue-driven mechanisms, whether it's ad placements on the courts, whether it's the dasher boards in hockey, and there's all sorts of other areas that, advertisements on the pitcher's mound, and all these other things. Those are also other parts of it, because the other side of it is, look, hey, this stuff's not cheap.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, these things at some point, some of them do need to pay for themselves. Tina, I know, ESPN's been doing this for forever. What's your opinion on AR graphics in-game?
Yeah, I love AR graphics in-game. We do it a lot live, and I think it does add to the storylines and the storytelling, as others have said here. I also do believe that AR in the studio is really important, and I say that because in the studio, at least, you have a controlled element and an infrastructure there that you can do even more than you can potentially do on the road now. Although, on the road we've got, sky cams and jibs and things like that are tracking and doing great. It's more controlled in the studio, and I think you can do even more in those spaces with sponsorships and with other things. And not only just overlay those graphics to tell the story, but include your talent in the scene. And to me, that's important too, is including your talent, because that's what our fans want to see, is our talent, associated with those as well. So I think it's in both live and studio really important.